Whitaker. He is the former acting attorney general. Matt, it's always great to have you on. I mean, the gist of this, the major complaint, right, from the right, from the GOP, is that the DOJ and the FBI in recent years have lost a lot of confidence, lost some trust. It appears to be a fair assessment. And their belief is if you put out this affidavit, this document, and 75% of it is blacked out, not exactly the best way to gain back that trust. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with my home state Senator ChuckGrassley. I think the FBI has a burden now to demonstrate that this isn't a continuation, to Hugh Hewitt's point, of the last 7 years of them trying to get Trump. I mean, ultimately, the confidence of the American people is going to be improved in the FBI if they have more transparency. And going to court to, first of all, block this affidavit, and then if they present next week a completely blacked out document that looks more like an Austin Kleon poem than, you know, a real affidavit, I think it's going to be increase the accusations that the FBI is playing politics in this investigation.
You talk about the redacted affidavit, and law professor Jonathan Turley made a very good point, and I want to get your reaction on the other side of this. Watch.
They have routinely been accused of redacting too much out of material. I've been in cases where I've challenged that. They use this strategically. And part of the problem is if they go and redact too much, they can delay release. They can go on appeal and fight this a little longer without releasing the information.
And I think what he's trying to say there is, look, the longer this thing goes, right, the DOJ can hold this up in the courts for a while. And while it's being held up in the courts, Matt, they control the narrative. Remember, they're the ones that say, you know, they can give information to the Washington Post about things like nuclear weapons documents. So they control the narrative. The other side doesn't really get a chance to defend itself. And the DOJ has all of the power going forward.
Yeah, Trace, you're absolutely right. I think the leaking surrounding this case has been abhorrent and shameful, and the Department of Justice needs to stop doing that. You know, as it relates to the appeal, remember, this is a magistrate judge. So if he rules against the government and their redactions, the first appeal is to the district court and then to the appellate court, and then ultimately if the Supreme Court would take it. So it's absolutely true that the DOJ could delay this. And remember, we're also in the 90-day political window, that the DOJ doesn't do overt acts and investigations of a political nature. And so that's going to delay this investigation to the benefit of DOJ, who, to your point, is controlling the narrative.
Yeah, they're going to want to push this past that 90-day mark. You know, you were talking about this man, the top Republican on the Senate Judiciary Committee, now demanding answers from the FBI director on the Hunter Biden investigation. Senator ChuckGrassley says whistleblower claims that the FBI wrongly labeled evidence on Hunter as, quoting, disinformation indicated, quote, deeply rooted political infection in its D.C. field office. Grassley says his letter this week to Director Christopher Wray is his fourth request for that information. He writes, quoting here, the Bureau has failed to address concerns that I've raised. The consistent failure to respond to Congress continues to erode trust in the FBI. What he's saying is, boy, it is all hands on deck in the Trump investigation. Boy, when it comes to the Hunter Biden investigation, we can't find any hands on deck.
And that's true. I mean, you look at, that's been going on for 3 years. They've had the Hunter Biden laptop. First DOJ and FBI off the record suggested it was disinformation. You know, we found out that really it's actually authentic and it is his laptop. And that investigation doesn't seem to have any force behind it. We don't see any overt acts. We don't see search warrants as being executed. We don't hear of grand jury witnesses. And so, you know, the American people continue to believe there's a ever-increasing two-tier system of justice, and it can't be sustainable if we continue down this path.
And I guess if you're the FBI, Matt, and you're not really responding to Chuck Grassley, you're not responding to the Senate, I guess you don't really have to respond to anybody, do you? I mean, if you're not going to respond to the Senate, the president's not going to ask you to respond. So I guess you really just don't have accountability to anybody at this point.
Well, that's what it appears. If you're not going to listen to the most ranking member of the Republicans on the Judiciary Committee and respond to his concerns, legitimate concerns, that are based in whistleblowers that are coming from the FBI pointing to this political bias, there is a lack of accountability that ultimately I think Congress is going to have to pull the reins back on this situation.
Yeah, and by the way, we should know that ChuckGrassley has said again and again that the FBI has not refuted these allegations against Hunter Biden, which is a significant statement. Matt Whitaker, always great to have you on, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Trace.